I treat my body hard and make it my slave, so that after proclaiming the good news to others, I myself will not be disqualified.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
More powerful than a locomotive.
An idea is like a virus. Resilient. Highly contagious.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
By weekend.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Better Humanology Podcast. My name is Jared Moon, and with me, as always, is Talon Schwan. What's up, Talon?
What's up, Jared? Hey, everyone. How's it going?
You asking me or them?
I'm asking everyone.
Okay.
How's it going?
I'm sure they're doing great.
I hope they're doing great.
Listening to us on their commute, during their workout, before you go to bed.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
we can
good.
get Talon to do a little sleepy time podcast.
Yeah. Just close your eyes.
And just
rest now.
If no one knows, so like the most popular podcast in the health category, or last time I checked, was this. It's called like Sleep With Me or Sleepy Time Podcast or something like that. And anyway, it's hilarious. You guys got to go.
It's called Sleep With Me, but Sleepy Time Podcast is the perfect name for one of those. We should start that. That should be the next endeavor for the Better Humanologists over here.
You're really just supposed to listen to this guy, and he puts you to sleep. I think the whole concept is hilarious and awesome at the same time. But check it out if you want to. For some reason, we just completely plugged his podcast for no reason. We got to get back on topic.
It was you.
We got to get back onto the better humanness. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So, barbell giveaway will be announced this Thursday. We're gonna let everyone. We're gonna let it run all the way through the rest of this Monday, all the way to the end, and then we'll officially announce it because sometimes iTunes takes a while to update reviews and all that other stuff. So, last chance, 5-star review, positive comment, and iTunes will get you entered in for a chance to win that barbell. Love to see somebody using that for their Christmas present. It'd be cool. So do that. We'll announce on Thursday. Okay. I think announcements are complete.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then we will go into challenges. You want to start?
No, I want to go last this time.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go with mental toughness challenge. I want to save the book I want to do the book after your challenge.
Okay.
So let's do challenges, then I'll do book. Okay, so mental toughness. This one's kind of crazy. Not too crazy, just a little crazy.
Right.
I've been reading a lot about stoicism and different stuff that they do, different practices and stuff. I'm really huge fan. And one of the really unique things that was suggested when I was reading over it is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And we talk about that kind of stuff all the time, but more specifically, like getting a sleeping bag and going and sleeping in your garage or sleeping on your kitchen floor or something like that. And so I want to challenge everyone one night this week, grab a sleeping bag or a blanket and a pillow, or don't grab any of those things and just go sleep in your garage or on your kitchen floor, something that's going to be really uncomfortable, and build that mental toughness and build that appreciation for the things that you do have in this world. Because there are people sleeping on cold, hard floors somewhere who have no option to go to the comfy bed. So that's really throwing it down, in my opinion, because that's like jacking up your whole night's sleep. But
all your joints, my back probably start hurting.
Throwing it down.
I was like, man, it sounds like he's talking about do something that's gonna be a little awkward. Well, I'll just make eye contact with Ned next time we're passing at the mailbox and go ahead and talk about that tree that's growing over a little bit over the fence, something like that.
Get really uncomfortable. No, uncomfortable. Go sleep somewhere that's not so pleasant, and right. I think that it would be fun. Okay, physical challenge, your fitness challenge, 100 pull-ups for time, but there's a caveat. I want you to do it in max rep sets. So, like if you can do 20 pull-ups in a row, so do 20. And then drop, rest as much as you want, and then do as many as you can again. Maybe you get 10 the next time, and just every single set has to be maximum repetitions, as opposed to like, I'm just going to do 20 sets of 5 or 10 sets of 10 or whatever. Just every single set needs to be max reps until you get to 100. Pretty easy there. And knock that one out. And over to you, man. Your challenge.
Okay. This week, my challenge is kind of big. So usually I have small things you can knock out in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe in one day you'll do it. It's not something you do throughout the week. This thing is something that I need you guys to think about probably throughout this entire week. I know holidays are coming up, so you're probably going to have less time if you wait, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. But if you start right now, you're going to have time. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and bust out your calendar for 2017. So if you don't have a calendar yet, then you can grab, 12 sheets of paper, or, notebook paper or whatever, and go ahead and write down a month on each one. Because I want you guys to start planning out how you're going to get better in 2017. So start easy. You don't need to look at when the holidays are right now. Just mark, maybe January. There's 4 weeks in January. So maybe each week there's something that I want to get better at. So I'm going to mark down, a challenge, a physical challenge or a mental challenge, or maybe just something that's going to remind me to be in the moment. Like I'm going to take my family, to the zoo and I'm going to leave my phone at home, or something like that. Or maybe even an experimental week where I try something that maybe that we've talked about on the show before in season 1 or one of our other challenges. And so that's what I'm going to do for me personally is I'm going to go down and put something, at least one thing for each week on how I'm going to get better. So it's 52 weeks in a year. So if you want to do it the layman's route, you can just make a list from 1 to 52 and go ahead and start inputting things. But you can put all kinds of stuff. And if you guys are looking for ideas, like I said, there are tons of good information we just talked about on our recap for the experience we did on the season 1 here. And then there's also lots of ideas and all the bullets we talk about each week here in season 2. And then you guys can hit us up for questions anytime. And we love responding to listener questions here on the show about things that you can add in for those weeks. But think hard about what you want to get better at and the direction that you want to go in your life in 2017, because it's another opportunity each year. It's another opportunity for you to get better and become the person that you want to be. So what types of activities can you write down to help get you there? Is what you need to start thinking about.
I love that, man. I spend a significant amount of time at the end of the year to plan the next year. So I really like that suggestion.
Thanks. I think it fits into our topic a little bit tonight. So I think after tonight, you guys listening out there will probably understand better about why this is the challenge for this week because of what we're discussing here in a little bit.
All right, so I'll jump into my book recommendation. I've posted this on my Instagram. So Tim Ferriss has a new book. I'm a huge fan of Tim Ferriss. A big part of me starting an online business was me reading his 4-Hour Work Week, which really did not help me make a business or start online. It was just kind of a mind shift into, this is actually possible. So I really like all of the work that he does and stuff he pulls out. So he just put out a book called Tools of Titans, the Tactics, Routines, and Habits of Billionaires, Icons, and World-Class Performers. And here you go, Talon. You can see it. It's massive.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a huge book. So Tim Ferriss has a podcast. I'd actually recommend subscribing to his and ours. Both good podcasts to listen to. Anyway, he has an amazing network of people, like Tony Robbins, Wim Hof, like Jocko Willink, like all these amazing people, and he's interviewed all of them. And this book is really just a compilation of all of his interviews, and he took out all the really important things from the interviews from these people, like literally billionaires, people who have created multiple billion-dollar companies. He's interviewed them on his podcast, and he broke the book into 3 sections, pretty much healthy, wealthy, and wise. And it's just amazing. And the reason I think it's so amazing is because the book I've recommended on the podcast before, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. The reason that was so amazing, that book, was because Napoleon Hill did all this research on like Henry Ford, Benjamin Franklin, like all these like hard hitters in history, and it took him several years to do that. And I think it actually took him closer to 2 decades, but he was doing it back in the day, right? Like talking to people, like writing to their homes and stuff. There wasn't like Skype, whatnot, And so I feel like Tim Ferriss has been able to do a version of that in, it's only been like a 2 years, I think, maybe 3 or something like that. That he's been doing his podcast, and he's got to talk to all these people. It could be longer, but it's just really impressive. And the reason I like it is because a huge belief I have in achieving success is shortcutting your success by looking to those who are already successful. Either getting a mentor and asking them directly, like, okay, what should I do next to get here? You've already been there. Or reading a book like this is an amazing start. All of these people who are extremely successful in one way, shape, or form, you get to shortcut it. So I think it's an amazing book. It doesn't read like a book, because like I said, each one is like a person, kind of almost about a topic,
Right.
but it's an amazing resource to have. And I know I talk about this book a little bit longer than I talk about most books. It's just because I think this one's worth having, and I think that everyone should. I'm not even done with it, but I've read pulled out a lot of good nuggets already. It's a really solid book.
Yeah, I noticed that you have it in the hard copy format.
Yes, I don't think that this comes in audiobook. For the same reason I didn't do my Garage Gym Athlete book in audio, is because it's like, it doesn't read like that. Like, my book has a bunch of DIY projects
Right, a lot
in
of
it.
instructions and stuff.
So it'd be like me reading, like, okay, now take 2 bolts and blah, blah, blah. So who knows? There might be an audiobook coming out or something, but it would read very strangely.
So it is that style, though, in that book. It's got like really practical kind of straightforward tips and numbered kind of like advice type things.
Yeah, so it'll be like, he'll have like a quote and then give you like a little bit of backstory behind their conversation, and then kind of like do some quick bullets about like questions he asked them, and because he has common questions that he asks everybody on the show, kind of how like we ask your best advice for becoming a better human.
Mm-hmm.
He has similar stuff like that. Like if you could have a billboard placed anywhere in the world, what would it say and where would it be? I love that question.
Oh, wow. That's a really good question.
Yeah. And what's even cooler is I've been following Tim as he launched this book, and he actually took some of the quotes that people wanted and put them on billboards in Times Square in Manhattan for his book launch, and actually achieved like them doing that. They're like, okay, he's like, what would your billboard say and where would it be? And like they were like, Jocko was like, discipline equals freedom, and it'd be in Times Square, and he put that in Times Square.
Discipline equals freedom. That sounds Jocko-ish.
It does sound Jocko-ish.
It sounds like you too.
Yeah, me and Jocko are cool. Okay.
This one fits in tonight a little bit.
Yeah, so actually I want to start, we'll get into tonight's topic, but I think we're going to start with a clip. We're going to roll some footage and then talk about it a little bit. So
this guy went off his rocker here.
Talon, if you want to play it, you play it, and then we'll let you guys listen, and then we'll discuss it.
You got to have a will. You got to have a will. There's sometimes, they're tired too. Walker Kipper played 40 minutes. Confrey played 39. They're tired too. But who's got the will? Like I said out there on the radio, we just live right now the generation of kids that are coming through. Everybody gets a damn trophy. Okay? You finish last, you come home with a trophy. You kidding me? I mean, what's that teaching kids? It's okay to lose. And unfortunately, it's our society. It's what we're building for. And it's not just in basketball, it's in life. Everybody thinks they should get a job. Everybody thinks they should get a good job. No, that's not the way it works. But unfortunately, that's what we are preparing for. Because you finish 5th, you walk home with this nice trophy, parents are all excited. No. I mean, not to be too blunt, but you're a loser. Like, we're losers. We got beat. So you lost. There is no trophy for us. But unfortunately, the way these kids are brought up today, there is a trophy. Because nobody wants anybody to have hard feelings. Nobody wants to get their feelings hurt. Well, unfortunately, in the real world, I'm not sure how it is with your all's jobs. But with mine, if you lose enough, you get fired. And that's just the way it is. And I'm trying to explain to our kids, like, hey, I'm trying to prepare you for the real world. Because when you go to get a job, there's competition. And what are you going to do to stand out? But unfortunately, we're not preparing these kids, before they get to us at least, to be ready for that. When you play 3-4 AAU games in one day. You lose 3 of them, and then you win the last one, and everybody goes home happy. You're 1-3. I mean, you know, I know it's a long time ago, but God darn, the days we played, when you lost, you went home. There was no friendship bracket. You know, let's go on the left side to the friendship games so everybody can play 2 more games. No, you went home. You went home a loser, and then you worked at it if you wanted to be good.
All right, man. Let's so just to recap, who you know that guy's name? It's
Jeff Walz. Yeah, he's the Louisiana, or not Louisiana. Excuse me, Louisville. Yeah, women's basketball coach.
And I don't even follow sports. I think you and everyone who listens to this show, if they listen regularly, know that.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to cover this tonight because I think a lot of people knee-jerk reaction would be like, well, I know Jared. Jared's like going to be like, hell yeah, this guy, you know, talking entitlement and whatnot because I'm anti-entitlement, blah, blah, blah. But I don't agree with this guy. I don't agree with him. I think 100% this is a great example, sorry, Jeff, but of poor leadership. Like that's exactly what this is, and it kind of helps us segue into tonight's topic. But man, I want to get your opinion on it. What's your opinion on I don't know, entitlement, the whole entitlement generation thing? Because I could talk about it all night, and to be honest, but I'll let you kick the can first.
My knee-jerk reaction is some of the things he's talking about. I'm like, you know, some of the things I feel like do make a little bit of sense. I don't like the everyone gets a trophy kind of thing. But I agree with you. He seems like he's passing the buck and putting all the emphasis on why his team lost on his players not having. He talks about the beginning, got to have a will. That's probably the one thing I agree with that he said in the entire little speech there, is you do have to have a will. But I don't think, like, what does no one wants to have their feelings hurt have to do with willpower? You know, I feel like
He's all over the place.
Goes off on a tangent quite a bit there.
Well, and then he blames society.
Right.
And then he also blames the people who are preparing the kids before they get to him. And so it's like 2 cop-outs, right? Anytime you blame something on society, I'm no longer listening to you. Right. It's like you have the power to control you, your life, your family. And let me just ask you a question. So technically, we're a millennial generation.
We are, yeah.
Yeah. I think as of right now, if you're under the age of 35, I believe.
Yeah, but we're pre-internet millennials. So
yeah, trying to. I mean, technically we're millennials, but neither one of us have that entitlement BS. Did you ever get a trophy with a participation trophy?
I did.
Yeah, so did I.
I got several. Yeah.
And guess what? I knew when I got them that they didn't mean shit.
Yeah, they're pieces of junk. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I just knew that. My dad didn't sit me down and say, you know what, Jared, this. I know you got that trophy for finishing out the season. I remember getting my first ever participation trophy. It was for flag football. I think I was in like the 2nd or 3rd grade. Mm-hmm. They handed me a trophy, and I was literally sat there. I was like, why did I get a trophy? Like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't understand it. I had no clue why I got a trophy. And so I think the whole trophy argument about millennials is complete BS. And it's not because I'm trying to stick up for my generation. I think there are a lot of slapdicks out there amongst our generation.
Yeah.
But you and I were talking earlier, man. You can't go back to this freaking trophy argument all the damn time because there are things like we were talking about school. There are grades in school. You can't.
Right.
Teachers aren't just giving everyone an A because they feel like they're entitled to an A. Kids are in school getting C's, getting D's, failing, getting B's, getting A's because they worked for the grades, they got the grades. And I mean, a lot of kids don't even play sports, so like we just dropped the whole trophy thing. But like, where does the entitlement thing comes from? Maybe this helicopter parenting did get a little bit out of control for a little while, and then everyone wanted the best for their kids and told them over and over, "Hey, you can be anything you want to be." They left out the hard work piece. They're like, "You can be anything you want to be." They forgot to tell you had to work hard. Like, is it that simple? I mean,
well, I think it's partly also, you can be anything you want to be, and I'll help make sure you get there. I'll make sure you don't fail on the way. I'll make sure that anytime you're going up to that path, you're hitting all your check boxes. You're happy throughout. You have everything you need throughout. That's what I feel like. I feel like it's not teaching leadership to your children more so than anything else. Because I feel like it's part of being a helicopter parent is making sure that, and I haven't been a parent for very long, so I don't want to, dash down a bunch of parents out there. But it is making sure that your kids aren't failing. But I think it's important for everybody to experience a little bit of failure. And that's what I think the guy makes at the end of the video, I think, is his real point he's trying to make, is that losing creates motivation. And that's what I think maybe kind of brings the whole full circle back for his talk, is maybe that's what he means by will, is that if people are allowed to feel the pain of losing, they'll create the motivation to in turn develop willpower to improve and continue to get better and develop discipline or whatever it is. So I feel like he has a point there, and I feel like what it really comes down to for the people that are millennials that, losing, themselves or whatever, or, considered lazy, I feel like it's just the lack of direction because we don't have leaders that are millennials too often.
Yeah. I think the whole thing the whole bringing up this Jeff Walz guy is just, I'm not trying to attack him. It's just, I think
he's copping out. Yeah.
Big picture, anyone who says the millennial generation, and if I was not the millennial generation or whatever, like, it has nothing to do with it. It's more, you need to lead. At any point, if you ever hit a wall and you're like, oh, well, those people are just that way, or that generation is just that way, what are you going to do about it? If that's kind of your approach, then you've copped out on leadership. No, like, if you have like 4 millennials working for you right now, and they all feel like they're entitled, and it pisses you off, what are you doing about it? Don't just complain about them being entitled millennials. I don't know. The whole thing.
I think it's an extremely lazy excuse for why his team lost.
Which is the perfect segue into tonight. I'm already heated and fired up because talking about this stuff. I don't like people copping out, but what's worse than that, and actually can make my blood boil, is laziness.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I think it's a problem. Like, I think I have a problem. I don't think other people have a problem. I have to remove myself from laziness. If someone else is being lazy and it involves me, I have to remove myself, because I'm just going to end up getting angry. And I know that it's not always warranted. And it's really the only thing that I won't lose my temper. I'm pretty good at controlling that because I'm an adult. I will be mad internally when I see laziness happening. I don't know. Maybe you and I have some differing views on laziness, man.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
when you see lazy, do you just get pissed off, or what do you see? What do you?
I look for a reason when I see laziness, honestly, because I really, part of the big preparation in for me for this show is, in what I found and what I've really thought about, is that laziness is something that is misconstrued a lot of times, right? It's a lot of times it's somebody else. It's somebody that's got some issue going on. It could be something as small as they are having a tough day, right? They're having a rough day. Like, they dealt with a lot of bad traffic in the morning, like coffee spilt on them, right? And they are just just glazed eyes staring at their computer when you will happen to walk by them, and you think, oh, they're lazy. So Jared gets triggered maybe, but this person isn't necessarily a lazy person. They're in a situation maybe where they seem lazy. So how quickly can you jump to a conclusion that somebody's being lazy? Or,
I mean, it's pretty apparent if actions should be happening and actions are not happening.
Right. So in my example, then that person's being lazy. Absolutely right.
Right. And I would love to give everyone the benefit of the doubt on the why, but unfortunately, I don't think it matters.
Oh God! See, that's the only thing I focus on when we're going to talk about laziness. Every single topic I have is, well, why? Why are people lazy? So we can understand that and remove that.
I'm really big on the why, and to be honest, when we get around to talking about how to combat laziness, I'll actually talk about having a why a little bit more and why that is important. But at the end of the day, if you were just lazy and didn't get something done, no matter the reason, those things didn't get done. And
Okay, that's a great point.
So
It's true.
I just no, because like if it's a slippery slope. If you're like, no, you know what, you had a bad morning, spilled coffee on yourself, be lazy for the first 15 minutes of your day or whatever, then where do we draw the line?
Right. Okay, that's good. So we're at the point where we're defining what point does somebody become lazy.
Okay,
Right.
you define that for me. Cause,
Well, no, this brings up something that I really want to talk about anyway, because if we're going to define at what point does inaction become a definition to make someone lazy, I think you have to bring up laziness versus procrastination kind of topic. Because for me, I think what you could be describing in some cases for some people is procrastination, where inaction doesn't necessarily mean the lack of production or results in the end. It just means inaction at certain times, on certain days or whatever, until action can be fulfilled because of whatever reason. It could be, people are just overstressed or they're overworked at that time, or maybe they just need that break or whatever it is. Rough day, whatever. So I think there's a delineation there between procrastination and laziness somehow.
And I agree with you, because I don't think that a human being should have to be taking action at every minute of every day. Like, for instance...
You don't?
Well, here, I'll share a little personal story. And I've told you this before. My wife calls me the laziest, non-lazy person she knows. Occasionally. Like, and jokingly.
She
to a
knows
point.
that'll push a button, get you going.
Yeah, but it's because, and the real reason behind it is because I'll work like really hard on like, doesn't matter what it is, maybe work stuff or working out. But once I've kind of in my brain, I don't actually write it out, so don't make fun of me. But once I've kind of been in my brain, like, okay, like 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., I'm going to do nothing. Like I might make that decision. That is the time in which I'm going to do nothing because I've been doing something since like 4 a.m.
Right.
Like I'm just going to do nothing. But after I've made that decision, there's no getting me to do anything once I'm in that, like, okay, this is the time I have decided I will do nothing. I shall do nothing starting now and for 60 minutes. So I think it's okay to take breaks. Like I'm not saying people should be like machines, and I don't think that that's necessarily laziness unless I'm neglecting something that should be done. There's always more to be done, but I mean should be done. Like,
right.
Yeah, like you didn't finish something and that's going to be harmful to you or your job or your business or whatever later on.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. Because procrastination only goes so far, right? If you're procrastinating and you get to the day before a big project's due or before you have a big report to turn in at work, and you aren't able to complete it in the amount of time that you have left, and it isn't there when you show up the next day, then you are not procrastinating. You're just a piece of crap because you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Right.
So there is no. It's not really a fine line there. It's a pretty huge line. The difference. One is still getting everything you need to get done, and the other one is totally falling on your face and failing. But the other thing you talk about, and I think it's really interesting to bring up about laziness. It kind of fits into what I was saying earlier about how it's misconstrued for different things. Because you're called a lazy person, even though you're probably the most productive person that anyone that knows you is in their life. When you take your downtime, you prefer to do nothing with that downtime. And that is someone who is stereotypically called lazy. No matter how much they do with their work time, their important time, their impactful, their family time, whatever, in their downtime, if they prefer doing nothing, oftentimes that's someone that's considered lazy too. And I think that's not fair because you're obviously not a lazy person.
I'd agree. No,
so,
go
ahead.
No, I think that's, and I do just sit in a chair and stare at a wall and do nothing. No, I'm kidding. No, I think that it's clearly defined, but I wanted to tack on to go back to just our definition of lazy a little bit more, because I want to break it down to a physics level of what it is. So the law of inertia, Newton's first law, an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted on it by an unbalanced force. An object in motion continues in motion with the same speed in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. So I think the real reason we want to be lazy is simple physics, caloric burn, work, power, like calculations. Like the body, because of physics, would prefer to do nothing simply because of physics. It's just easier to do nothing per the law of inertia. Like I think that's the real reason why getting to a like super practical level of defining it there is like easy is definitely lazy is just easy, right? It requires no work, no caloric burn, no energy expenditure. It's just there. It's just rest. And that's what, for some reason, this earth was built to be like. Like, I've asked that question on the podcast multiple. Why can't we just all do what we're supposed to do at all times?
Right.
And it sounds like such a dumb question, but it's so like, no, but seriously, like the world could have been so many different ways, but the way it is the fact that we're all inherently lazy and struggle each and every single day to fight resistance, to do our work, to work out, to get up early, like all of the things that we're talking about,
right?
That like to become better, like we're talking about reading books, we're talking about doing challenges, we're talking about working out, we're talking about all of these things that we know can make a human being better. People don't want to do. Like, yeah, some people have the desire to do it, but man, if you had a bad day, shit's hitting the fan, the first thing that's going to go is your extracurricular reading books and fitness and all these things that are hard to do because they're extra activities, right? All that stuff is right gone. And it's just because we don't do what we're supposed to do. And I think it's simple physics.
Because doing nothing is the most enjoyable thing we could possibly do, probably, right?
I don't think it's enjoyable. Is that
what it comes down to?
I don't
see. Why do you do nothing when you have that downtime?
I don't actually do nothing. I'm just not productive during that. Like I could watch a show, or I could.
Okay, why does inactivity or lack of production, feel so good, or why is it the norm or the standard? Why is it what we draw back to?
The law of inertia.
The law of inertia.
I really think it's a physics equation. I think that we don't like the easiest thing for us to do is to do nothing. Something that requires, because no one's like, you know what, done with the day. I think I'm just gonna go on a 5-mile walk. Like that's not what people do, and it's because it's more work. Like by definition of work, it's more work.
Yeah, I definitely think that the majority of people are that way. I think the people that are listening to our show aren't those kind of people. They're the kind of people that are looking to improve in that downtime, looking to get better in that downtime.
Oh, no, we all are, and I think that's what we're training ourselves to do each and every single day, is your level of discipline is what's going to keep you from being lazy,
right?
In my real opinion of it. And, one quote I wrote down for this episode was, we fail to the level of our training. And so I sometimes I view that in a military standpoint, like we failed to level our training, like maybe you weren't trained to a certain standpoint, so you didn't achieve the mission or something wasn't, done. But in the civilian world, what is your training? Like, what is your daily training that, No, like I think it's your daily disciplines. Like, what are you doing on a daily basis to train yourself to be better? I think that's the real root of, I'm kind of segueing into combating laziness now, is if you're going to fail to the level of your training, like, for instance, if you've been, say you were, wanted to write a book, so you've been waking up at 4 a.m. every single day, and from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. you write for an hour. Just putting words to a page. But say you've been doing that, it's a huge book, and say you've been doing that for a year or 2 years or something like that.
Okay.
And you have a bad day or fight with your wife or you lose your job or whatever bad thing happens, and you've been doing that for 2 years, you're probably still going to wake up the next day and write for an hour from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. because you've conditioned your body for 2 solid years to wake up at that time and do that action. That's your training, and that's what you'll fail to. If you've only been doing that for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, and something bad happens in your life, yeah, it's right out the window, and you'll feel almost justified in not doing it anymore because something bad happened to you. So I think getting to that point where you've been doing something for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years is the hardest part. But I think once you get there, you'll only fail to that level that you've actually trained yourself to be disciplined in.
Dude, I love having these talks because our perspectives are so different. And I think that's great. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Sharpening my iron here a little bit, but I feel like totally different. Discipline, like I can see it. I mean, I can see how that can be the cause and what needs to be addressed and fixed. But for me, it's like weak mind. It's like just deciding to go autopilot and just not use your brain. It's like the body. You said the body a couple of segments ago. You said the body prefers the rest, and without a force. Oh, and the Newton quote, right? And it won't act unless a force is acted upon it. And I feel like as the only sentient being on this earth that is able to do that, the force that is acted upon it is started from us, within our own heads, because the body wants to rest and the mind overcomes it, and the mind is the force to act on it and say, hey, look, we need to have will. We need to go out there and get stuff done. And that's how we do things, by being aware and by using our brains to lead us instead of using our bodies. And I just love how you see it so differently. You see how
I don't think we see.
How can we?
I don't think we see it differently.
No, not fundamentally. Not when it comes down to
you're saying
results.
you need to will yourself to
right.
And discipline is not. Like
I'm talking about just in
discipline's
your
not a
explanation.
pill you take.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I
I'm
mean?
not talking about a new explanation. I think you just you want to simplify it to where, just take action, because this is how to make it as easy as possible. And it's not going to be easy once you get there, but just go do it. And this is how you're going to accomplish things, by taking action. By me, I see it more as like, okay, less action and more thought, and use your mind to how you're going to overcome things. So me, you just kind of attack things from that other angle.
But thought doesn't get a book written.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
well, if you've created that in your head to where you've inaction is not acceptable, right? And that's a thought that you've had and you've solidified into your head, then you won't have inaction. Right? You won't be allowed to
inaction if you've trained yourself to take action.
Well, see, that's your way of seeing it. My way of seeing it is if you've come to understand that inaction is just not acceptable, and how much action is really important if you fully understand that.
So I guess here's the only difference, and I sum it up in one question.
Okay.
The understanding, being aware that inaction is not okay, is one thing.
Right.
But where does the action happen?
After understanding. Because how can action
So
not
you're
happen?
just saying, to implement
Right.
what I'm saying, you have to understand first.
Well, I'm saying to really have the motivation, right? The motivation to do it, the perspective to realize how much it's going to affect your life and things around you. It takes analysis. It takes understanding of really what it's going to affect, how it's going to change things, how doing this will change things, how creating that routine of 2 years of writing, what that will do for me, what that will give me in the long run, what that will feel like. Once you understand those things, I feel like it's impossible to not do them.
I agree.
Well, there we go.
That's my second point.
I got one question for you before we get too far.
Okay.
So I know we're getting close to how we can stop being lazy.
Well,
but-
I already gave my 1 point on stopping laziness.
Oh no. Okay.
You fail to level your training, so train yourself. This is
Okay.
essentially my first point.
Well, this is perfect then. My question is perfect.
Okay.
So then is laziness something that you can train out of yourself?
Everyone?
Well, you say that everyone is inherently lazy.
Everyone is inherently lazy.
So is it something that I can train out of myself if I'm already lazy?
Do you want the optimist, the pessimist, the realistic view?
I want you to give me the raw Jared view.
So I have faith in some people.
Some people.
I think that a lot of people no. No, I think I'm answering you more your question, would it happen or will it happen? And the answer is no. Could I physically train the laziness out of someone? Like if I was like a life coach for somebody?
Right. I'm asking as if it's a possibility.
Well, yeah, anything's possible, right? Yeah, I think it's a possibility, but unfortunately, I think that a lot of people will not overcome laziness. A majority of people will not overcome laziness.
So yes, but you're pessimistic about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be like that. Well, I'm just being real. The pessimistic motto. Is I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. But no, I really don't think. I think that a lot of people are just lazy, and the only way to condition yourself out of it is a shit ton of action. Because let's break it down this way: there's no such thing as no habits. There's nobody on this planet who, like I wake up early and I work out. I do, I have these habits. That's what a lot of people are like. Okay, you have these habits or whatever. Like I don't have any of those good habits. I've heard people say that to me, and I'm like, well, maybe you don't have good habits, but you have habits. Everyone has habits. There's no such thing as no habits. If your habit is staying in your warm bed, snoozing the alarm multiple times, if your habit is not exercising on a daily basis, you have a lot of habits. If you're, just eating bad food, doing all these things, like you have a lot of habits. And it's unfortunate though, like can't teach a dog, an old dog new tricks is so true with human beings. Like if I'm dealing with a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old on let's build you some new habits, that's difficult, but a lot easier than going to a 40 or 50-year-old and saying, okay, what you've been doing is not working. We're going to have to change everything about you. And you're going to have to do, it's not going to work.
Right.
And so I guess that's my real take is it breaks down to habits, and everyone has habits. You just have to define what they are. And those are the hardest things for people to change.
So I just want to break down just real quick. It seems like the people that we're really talking about, the majority of the people who deal with a lot of laziness, and this is everyone deals with it, is because it's inherently in them. We're not talking about people like in the situation I brought up at the very beginning example where somebody's had a bad day, or maybe they just in a work situation that they're not happy with, or maybe they're depressed, or they're dealing with marital issues or whatever, death in the family. It's not somebody that's dealing with something rough that's causing them to have laziness, because a lot of the qualities that we would say of laziness sound like symptoms of depression to me. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily those type of people. We're talking about just the inherent, the will, or the lack of will really, but the will to do nothing, laziness that is just in the human person.
Yeah, and I'm arguing that from a Newton's first law of physics standpoint.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah, as opposed to like, any philosophical or spiritual thing. It's just, I think that we're lazy because of physics. That's really what I think. Because even critical thinking burns more calories than zoning out and just like creative thought or whatever thought is easy for you.
Critical thinking is creative.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. Like you might be more inclined to like mathematical thinking might be really difficult for you, but thinking creatively is really easy. And for some people, obviously, that'd be flipped. So whichever one is more challenging for you is obviously going to burn more calories, take more work, and your mind doesn't want to have to deal with that. So it's going to take the path of least resistance.
Right.
Cool, man. So
so how do we get rid of this? If we all have it, so I'm inherently lazy. How do I stop being lazy?
Well, my first thing was train yourself. I think finding out what your habits are, and only ever attacking one at a time, because you don't add good habits. I think that you break bad habits first. So find out what your bad habits are and change those and get some sort of daily discipline. I like to wake up early. I don't think that you have to. I wake up early because of my life. Like my kids wake up early, my wife wakes up early, I get straight to work. If I want any time for myself, it has to happen early, because I'm dead at night. Like I just go straight to sleep. So, yeah. So
it could be at nighttime or whenever.
Yeah, I'll say it one more time. We fail to the level of our training. What is your training? Answer that question, and I think that because it could be at night. I know you're kind of like a night owl, and so you might do your stuff at night and your training at night, and that's cool too.
I think you remind me of a quote. I think we talked about it on the show before, but it's one I have written on my wall that I look at every day, basically. And real quick, it's Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do, excellence then is not an act but a habit. And I think that's what I think of first when you talk about your training. You fail to level your training. It's like your training is who you are. It's who you are every day, and it becomes what you will do because like we always talk about, it's your habits are infectious and cyclical, and they start happening more and more when you start doing them. Okay, so of course, short, simple, and sweet, and easy to apply for you. I have a couple of kind of heady points to make about how to prevent laziness, if you don't mind. My first is just be real with yourself, right? Like, if we're talking about people that's not getting stuff done, not getting shit done, like, you need to be real with yourself. So maybe you're busy or something like that, but if you adopt the mindset at the very beginning that failure is just not an option, and no matter what happens, you will complete all of your necessary tasks, even if you're not going to get there. I mean, let's just not think. It's kind of removing that option that you're not going to get there out of your head. It's like, even it might happen. I mean, everything's possible, like Jared said earlier. But if you kind of remove that option from your decision tree in the future, that you can fail at these things, then that kind of helps you build confidence. It kind of helps you overcome some of these tasks because you'll start planning for success rather than anything else. So that's kind of the where to start. That's kind of my blanket, always start thinking positively kind of deal.
And I want to tack on two things too, because I really think we all lie to ourselves. Like, I say that all the time. Like, we all that's why
I'm saying that.
Yeah, we've done an entire podcast episode on that. But I want to read a study that kind of goes. The study is actually called "The Selective Laziness of Reasoning," and it's kind of reasoning your self beliefs and how you treat yourself. This was a study done. I'll read after I read the actual abstract. Okay, so reasoning research suggests that people use more stringent criteria when they evaluate others' arguments than when they produce arguments themselves. To demonstrate this selective laziness, we used a choice blindness manipulation. In 2 experiments, participants had to produce a series of arguments in response to reasoning problems, and they were then asked to evaluate other people's arguments about the same problems. Unknown to the participants, in one of the trials, they were presented with their own argument as if it was someone else's. Among those participants who accepted the manipulation and thus thought they were evaluating someone else's argument, more than half, 58%, rejected the arguments that were in fact their own. Moreover, participants were more likely to reject their own arguments for invalid than for valid answers. This demonstrates that people are more critical of other people's arguments than of their own without being overly critical. They are better able to tell valid from invalid arguments when the arguments are someone else's rather than their own. And this is Cognitive Science Society Incorporated, The Selective Laziness of Reasoning. And it's Truchet, Jonathan, Hall, Mercer, a lot of different people.
Mercer's done a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, so there you go. I thought it kind of coincided with what you were saying. Is whatever we're telling ourselves, we believe, and we're not going to we might criticize it a little bit, but we won't overly criticize it. And it's actually been studied. And yeah, we lie to ourselves. We're always easy on ourselves, even if we don't think that we are. We're always easier on ourselves than we are. Other people.
I think there's people that are probably too far on the opposite side where they're too hard on themselves. But I think for the most part, I totally agree. I think most people think, yeah, I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, I'm pretty hard on myself, like to a fault at some point. But I always have to kind of remove myself from my own situation and look and see if that's really the case. I'm like,
right.
No, just back out of your life for a second. Are you is there some sort of bias here that you have because you're living your life, and you have to take those breaks occasionally.
Straight mindfulness, absolutely, every day. That's the key to everything. Okay, so I just got a couple more, and they're really brief. So after you are real with yourself, and next you need to understand your time. So there's some practical stuff in there, like you can download some apps or some things that help track what your time is being spent, where it's being spent, and what you're doing while you're working or while you're on the computer. Those kind of things can help, but also just figure out how long it takes you to accomplish certain tasks, so you're able to predict how long you have, or how long you have to take a break before this thing is due, or how long before it's going to take you to to finish it or whatever it is. And then, so after you've you real with yourself, you understand your time, organize your time, like maybe do these first 2 steps and then go ahead and jump into your challenge for this week from me and start working on your plans for next year. And then just the last step is just do it. Just go out and do it.
Nike style.
Yeah, straight up Nike style. You understand yourself. You're being real. You're being truthful, genuine to yourself. You've organized it. You've planned it. Now execute.
And see, I think that's unfortunate, but the unfortunate but true is that's the hardest part of not being lazy is the action part, right? The just do it. And that's what everyone wants. I used to be in this hamster wheel myself. As a productive person, I like productivity. I would get caught in the tactics at times and not the strategy. So people can get into these, what's the best productivity system? What's the best productivity book? What's the best productivity app for my iPhone? And all this stuff. Yeah, those tools can definitely be helpful. But you get into this like, if all you're doing is reading and researching productivity, you're not being productive.
Right.
You have filled your procrastination with thoughts of productivity without being productive. I have actually found myself in that situation, and it's hilarious. It's been a long time since then because
you caught yourself like in the middle of it.
Yeah, like I was like, I'm reading about like the best productivity system, and I'm not doing any work. Like, this is hilarious. And to be honest, I don't think anyone else's system, like there are a lot of little books like the GTD, the Getting Things Done system, and like all these, like, I don't think any of that stuff works. I think you just have to find what works for you. And then exactly tying it all back to what you just said is just do it. Like that's what you have to end with. And we talked about it. My biggest point is finding your why. Like your why. What's your intrinsic motivator for doing anything? And once you have that answered to a level that actually means something to you, like it could take a long time to find out what your why is, because if you're just like lazy day in and day out, like if you're working on a project or whatever, like the why could be a simple negative reinforcement of I don't want to lose my job, I don't, just like simple stuff. Like there's obviously gonna be a why, but if you're just lazy, like, man, I can't get out of bed, and man, I always skip my workouts and like all this stuff, then you need a bigger why for all of those things, maybe just for life,
right?
And attack it, because like not having a why for life doesn't mean you're like depressed. It just means you haven't thought about it. And we maybe flip back a bunch of episodes and go back to finding your purpose in life, which is one of our most popular episodes. Check that one out, and maybe that would help.
I think that would definitely help. I think that's a big part of the issue, is that people don't have a reason. It's kind of like that balance between expending the energy and the rewards they'll get for expending it. Is the other rewards outweighing the risks of expending that energy, and how motivated are you going to get because of that decision you make?
Cool, man.
Man. Think we're good.
All right, dude. So, listeners, everyone, go out there. 2017 is on the horizon. So I challenge you to go beat the shit out of laziness and make next year your best year you've ever had.
Start now.
Losers always whine about their best.